Your mind is always working, even when you're silent, even when you're tired, even when you think you're in control. The question is, who's actually making the decisions? You, or the automatic patterns you've been running for years? If you don't take command of your mind, it will take command of you. And here's the thing, it won't do it in dramatic ways. It will do it quietly, one small choice at a time. It will push you to delay action just for today. It will convince you that comfort is the same as safety. It will make you think you're choosing, when in reality, you're obeying. I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in everyone who ever wondered why their life feels stuck. They're not out of opportunities. They're not out of time. They're simply living in a reality designed by the most undisciplined parts of their mind. And if you don't take that control back, you'll wake up one day realizing you've built a life you never truly chose. This is why mental control isn't a luxury, it's survival. Without it, discipline fades. Focus dissolves. Every plan you make gets hijacked by impulses and distractions. But when you learn to take command, you stop running on autopilot. You start making decisions that match your vision, not your fears. Over the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly how to do that. We'll uncover the habits that turn your mind into a tool you can trust, instead of a trap that keeps you stuck. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand the one mental shift that locks in your control so deeply that losing it stops being an option. Because the truth is, you can master your time, your habits, your discipline, but if you don't master your mind, you'll lose it all. And that's a risk you can't afford anymore. If your mind doesn't listen to you in small things, it will never listen to you in the big ones. That's the first truth of mental control. Most people try to control their thoughts in moments of crisis. But if you can't command yourself to stand up when you'd rather stay seated, how will you command yourself to face the challenges that could change your life? Your mind learns who's in charge through repetition. Every time you give it a clear command and follow through immediately, you're programming it to obey. And every time you give in to hesitation, you're programming it to negotiate with you, to question you, to delay. Think of it like training a powerful animal. If it learns it can ignore you without consequence, it will run where it wants. But if it learns that your word is final, it begins to respect your lead. The same is true for your mind. And right now, for most people, their mind doesn't respect them because they've taught it that resistance wins. The fastest way to reverse that is to start small and be relentless. Give yourself a direct order and execute it immediately. Stand up now. Drink a glass of water now. Turn off the phone now. It doesn't matter if the action is tiny. What matters is the gap between the command and the action. The shorter that gap becomes, the more authority you reclaim over your mind. This isn't about becoming robotic or rigid. It's about proving to yourself that when you decide, you act. No delays. No negotiations. Because hesitation is the breeding ground of doubt. And doubt is how your mind steals control from you. When you start living this way, you'll notice a change in how you feel about yourself. Decisions become cleaner. The constant mental tug-of-war quiets down. You stop wasting energy convincing yourself to do what you already decided to do. And that mental clarity is the foundation of all higher-level control. This habit works because it bypasses the mind's favorite escape routes. Usually, when you decide to do something, your brain instantly offers alternatives. Do it later. Check this first. Just a quick break. If you act before those voices get loud, you win. And the more you win, the less those voices bother showing up at all. The resistance will still come, especially in the beginning. Your mind will test you. It will see if you really mean it this time. And that's when you double down. Even if the action feels pointless in the moment, you take it. You're not training for the action itself. You're training for obedience. Because later, when you need to make a hard choice that shapes your future, that obedience will already be installed. I've watched people change their lives just by mastering this. They went from, I can't stay consistent, to, I do what I say, period. And once your mind believes that about you, you become very hard to stop. Here's the key. Don't start with the biggest battles. Don't promise yourself you'll wake up at 4 a.m. every day if you've never done it before. Start with commands you can execute now, then expand. The goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to retrain your relationship with your own mind. And yes, it will feel strange at first. You'll realize how often you let yourself slide. How many times you tell yourself in a minute and never follow through. That awareness can sting, but it's exactly what you need. Because you can't control what you don't even notice. When you've built the habit of instant execution, your mind begins to recognize your authority again. You tell it to move, it moves. You tell it to focus, it focuses. And that's when you can start using that control for the deeper work. Controlling not just your actions, but your thoughts, your interpretations, and your emotional responses. And that's exactly where we're going next. Because commanding your body is one thing. Commanding your inner world is another. And if you can master that, your mind stops being a wandering force and starts becoming your most reliable weapon. Your mind is like a river. It never stops moving. The question is, does it flow where you want it to go, or is it carrying you somewhere you never chose? Most people never think about directing their thoughts. They just react to whatever comes up, assuming their mental state is random. But nothing about your thoughts is random. They follow patterns you've allowed, and if you don't take the lead, those patterns will take the lead for you. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean suppressing them. It means choosing which ones get to grow and which ones get no space to live. Think of it like tending a garden. If you don't decide what to plant, weeds will fill the space. Your mind works the same way. And those mental weeds, the doubts, fears, pointless worries, will take over if you let them. The habit here is intentional direction. When you notice your mind drifting into unhelpful territory, you don't just watch it happen. You guide it back, firmly, to where it serves you. At first, it feels like a constant correction. But over time, you'll notice your thoughts defaulting to the places you've chosen because you've trained them to. One way to start is by catching the first few seconds of a thought. Most destructive thoughts don't start destructive. They start as small doubts or curiosities. What if this doesn't work? Maybe I'm not ready. I wonder if I should check what others are doing. Left unchecked, those become entire mental spirals that pull you away from action. But if you redirect them early, if this doesn't work, I'll learn and adjust. I'm as ready as my actions make me. I don't need to compare. I need to build. You cut the spiral off before it builds momentum. Another approach is preloading your mind with intentional inputs. Just like a river can be diverted by shaping the land around it, your thoughts can be influenced by what you feed them. Start your day with content, questions, and conversations that align with the person you want to be. If you leave it to chance, you'll start your day reacting to noise, and that noise will set the tone for your thinking. I've seen people make incredible shifts just by controlling their first hour each morning. Instead of letting random inputs flood in, news, notifications, social media, they spend that time feeding their mind with clarity, purpose, and direction. And it changes the way their thoughts unfold for the rest of the day. But here's the thing. Directing your thoughts isn't a once-a-day habit. It's a continuous skill. You'll catch yourself drifting dozens of times. That's not failure. That's training. Every redirection is a rep in the mental gym. Every time you choose the thought that serves you instead of the one that weakens you, you're reinforcing your control. Some people resist this idea because they think it sounds exhausting. But what's truly exhausting is letting your mind run wherever it wants, constantly battling the chaos it creates. It's far more energizing to steer it from the start than to clean up the mess later. And here's the deeper benefit. When you direct your thoughts, you start to shape your emotions too. Thoughts and emotions are linked. The stories you tell yourself determine how you feel. When you choose your thoughts deliberately, you stop being a prisoner of emotional swings. You start feeling how you choose to feel, not how your mind decides for you. This is why mastering thought direction is non-negotiable for mental control. Without it, your mind will lead you into battles you never needed to fight, wasting your energy and your time. With it, you reserve your strength for what actually matters. Over time, this habit becomes second nature. You'll notice unhelpful thoughts arise less often. And when they do, you'll have a reflexive response that keeps them from taking root. Your mind will become a place where solutions, opportunities, and focus grow naturally because you've been planting them daily. Once you've learned to direct your thoughts, the next challenge is to protect that clarity from the biggest enemy of mental control, distraction. Because even the sharpest, most intentional mind will lose its edge if it keeps getting pulled away from what matters. And that's exactly where we're going next. A mind under control can accomplish anything, but even the most disciplined mind loses its strength when it's constantly interrupted. Distraction isn't just an inconvenience. It's a breach in the walls of your mental control. Every time you allow something irrelevant to hijack your attention, you're giving away the very power you worked so hard to build. The problem is, most people think of distraction only in terms of obvious interruptions, a notification ping, a phone call, someone asking a question. Those matter, but the real danger lies in the subtler distractions, the ones you invite in without realizing. The idle scrolling just for a minute. The curiosity that pulls you into a rabbit hole you didn't plan to explore. The mental chatter replaying an argument or imagining scenarios that will never happen. These are the intruders you have to guard against if you want true mental control. Because here's the truth. Distraction doesn't just steal your time. It reshapes your thoughts. Every interruption forces your mind to change context, and regaining your previous depth of focus can take minutes, sometimes longer. Multiply that by dozens of small distractions a day, and you've lost hours of clear thinking without even realizing it. The first step to eliminating these intruders is awareness. Track your day and notice every time your attention drifts. Don't judge it, just observe. You'll start to see patterns. Certain activities, times of day, or emotional states make you more vulnerable to distraction. Knowing these triggers is the first step to shutting them down. Next, change your environment to make distractions harder to access. If your phone keeps pulling you in, keep it in another room when you need to think deeply. If certain websites are your weakness, block them during focus hours. If conversations in a certain space keep breaking your flow, find a new space when you need control. This isn't about building a bubble where nothing can reach you. It's about reducing the frequency of attention theft so you can actually work with your mind instead of fighting it. Every barrier you put between yourself and a known distraction is an investment in your mental control. And let's be honest, some distractions are emotional, not external. Worrying about things you can't control, replaying past mistakes, imagining future problems that may never happen. These mental loops feel urgent, but they're just as damaging as any notification. When you catch yourself in one, break it deliberately. Change your physical state. Stand up, move, speak out loud to reset your focus. The real discipline here is in making your mental environment match your goals. That means surrounding yourself with fewer triggers for mindless thinking and more cues for intentional thought. Your mind adapts to what it sees and hears most often. Feed it constant noise, and it will expect noise. Feed it clarity, and it will start craving clarity. You'll notice something powerful once you start doing this. Your baseline mental energy increases. Distraction is exhausting. Switching focus over and over drains you far faster than sustained concentration. When you protect your focus, you're also protecting your energy. And that energy can now be used to deepen your thinking, strengthen your decisions, and move faster toward what matters. But here's the deeper layer. Eliminating distractions is not just about staying productive. It's about proving to yourself that your attention belongs to you, not to every demand that appears in front of you. That confidence reinforces your control, making it harder for future distractions to even tempt you. And when you've removed the constant interruptions, something else becomes possible. You can start using your mental control not just to focus, but to guide how you feel, how you respond, and how you recover from challenges. That's the next level, and it's what separates people who simply manage their mind from those who master it completely. Your mind is not just a place of thoughts. It's also the command center for your emotions. And if you can't control your emotional responses, you don't really control your mind. You might manage your focus for a while. You might keep distractions at bay, but the moment a surge of anger, fear, or frustration hits you, it can override all of that in seconds. The truth is, emotions are fast. They arrive before logic has time to weigh in. One word from someone, one unexpected event, and your body is already flooded with the chemistry of reaction. This is why so many people sabotage their own goals. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they let the heat of the moment decide for them. To truly control your mind, you have to train it to create space between stimulus and response. That space is where you reclaim your power. Without it, you're a slave to whatever emotion shows up first. With it, you get to choose your actions deliberately, no matter how intense the feeling. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to your body's early signals when an emotion is rising. Maybe your chest tightens, your breathing changes, your jaw clenches. These are signs that your emotional system is gearing up to take over. The moment you notice them, pause. Even 3 seconds of pause is enough to interrupt the automatic reaction. In that pause, ask yourself one question: what outcome do I want from this moment? This question forces your mind into forward thinking instead of reactive thinking. You're no longer just feeling, you're directing. Another powerful technique is to pre-plan your responses to common triggers. If you know certain situations push your buttons, decide ahead of time how you'll respond. Rehearse it mentally. When the real moment comes, your brain will already have a pathway for the response you want, making it easier to follow through. You can also train this skill in low-stakes situations. If someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of feeding the anger, practice letting it go instantly. If a task frustrates you, instead of complaining, redirect into problem solving. These small rehearsals build the muscle you'll rely on in bigger moments. Over time, you'll start to notice a shift. Your emotions will still come, but they won't control you. You'll feel the initial surge and know, instinctively, that you have a choice. And that choice will become faster, cleaner, and easier every time you make it. This isn't about becoming emotionless. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about experiencing your emotions fully, but deciding what to do with them consciously. Anger can fuel determination. Fear can sharpen focus. Sadness can deepen empathy. But that only happens when you're the one steering, not the feeling. When you master your response, you also strengthen every other part of your mental control. Distractions lose their pull because you're not reacting impulsively to them. Negative thoughts lose power because you don't automatically attach to them. Stressful situations stop derailing you because you know how to keep your mind steady in the storm. And this creates a deeper confidence, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances. You start to trust yourself not just when things are calm, but especially when they're not. That trust is priceless. It means you can walk into unpredictable situations knowing you'll act from your principles, not your impulses. Once you can do this, you're ready for the next stage of mental control, the one that moves from managing reactions in the moment to designing a mental environment so strong that your mind naturally works in your favor every day. If you have to fight for control every single day, sooner or later you're going to lose. Willpower is like a battery, powerful but limited. You can't rely on sheer effort forever. The key to lasting mental control is building a system so strong that it takes over for you, running the right patterns even when you're tired, busy, or distracted. Most people think control is about reacting well in the moment. But real control comes from setting the rules in advance and living by them automatically. Think about professional pilots. They don't wait for a storm to figure out what to do. They've already trained, rehearsed, and built checklists that guide them without hesitation. By the time the turbulence hits, the system takes over. Your mind works the same way. If you know your triggers, your tendencies, and your weak points, you can create mental checklists and routines that keep you on track without having to negotiate every decision. This isn't about controlling every second of your life. It's about removing as many unnecessary decisions as possible so your mind has less opportunity to wander into the wrong places. Start by identifying the non-negotiables, the mental habits you want to be automatic. It might be starting your day with intentional focus instead of random inputs. It might be taking a short pause before responding to anything emotionally charged. It might be shutting down work at a specific time to protect recovery and clarity. Once you define these, they're no longer up for discussion. They simply happen. Then, attach them to existing anchors in your day. If you want to set your mind each morning, link it to something you already do, like drinking your first glass of water. If you want to review your direction daily, tie it to your lunch break. When you connect new mental habits to established routines, they take root faster and require less effort to maintain. Another piece of your system is building mental defaults for common situations. For example, if someone criticizes you, your default might be to look for one useful insight before reacting. If you face an unexpected problem, your default could be to list 3 possible actions instead of focusing on the problem itself. The point is to have preset responses that keep you in control without having to think from scratch every time. It's also important to create environmental safeguards for your mind. That means choosing the people, places, and information you surround yourself with deliberately. If your environment constantly triggers distraction, negativity, or fear, your system will be under constant attack. But if your environment is aligned with your goals, it will feed your mental control instead of draining it. Over time, you'll notice that certain things simply stop being a struggle. You won't have to psych yourself up to stay disciplined. Your system will guide you. You won't waste energy deciding whether to stay focused. You'll just be focused. This frees up mental resources for deeper thinking, better problem solving, and higher quality decisions. The beauty of a strong mental system is that it protects you even on your worst days. When you're tired, stressed, or feeling off, the system still runs. It keeps you moving forward when your willpower would otherwise give out. And that's when you realize that mental control isn't just about what you do when you're strong. It's about how you keep going when you're not. And once your system is in place, you're ready for the next level, raising the personal standards that system enforces. Because if your standards are weak, even the best system will keep you average. But when your standards are unshakable, your system becomes unstoppable. Control isn't just about what you allow. It's about what you refuse. The walls of your mental fortress aren't built from willpower alone. They're built from standards so clear, so absolute, that your mind stops even trying to negotiate with them. The truth is, most people don't fail because they have no standards. They fail because their standards are flexible. When the day gets hard, the goal becomes optional. When emotions run high, principles get replaced with impulses. And every time that happens, the foundation cracks a little more. Your mind is always listening. If it hears you bending the rules you set for yourself, it learns that your rules are suggestions, not laws. And once your mind believes that, it will challenge you every time you try to hold the line. That's why people start strong but fade over time. They've trained their mind to expect exceptions. If you want lasting control, you have to build a standard your mind knows is final. No negotiations. No special cases. It's a simple truth. I do this no matter what. It might be how you start your day, how you close it, how you handle challenges, or how you treat yourself under pressure. Whatever it is, it must be so deeply tied to your identity that breaking it would feel like breaking who you are. This is where discipline becomes identity. You're no longer trying to stay in control. You simply are in control. Because your standards aren't dependent on motivation, mood, or convenience. They live in the core of who you are. One of the most powerful shifts I ever experienced was deciding that my worst day still had to meet a certain baseline of action. Even if I was exhausted, even if I was overwhelmed, even if I had every excuse ready, that baseline was non-negotiable. And over time, it became part of me. My mind stopped fighting it because it knew the answer was always the same. To set a standard like this, you have to strip away every maybe and when I feel like it. Decide what matters most and commit to it so completely that it no longer feels like a choice. It feels like breathing. That's when you know you've moved beyond trying into becoming. And here's the beauty. The moment your standards become absolute, your mind starts protecting them for you. It stops wasting energy debating what to do and starts directing that energy into doing it. Decisions get faster. Focus gets sharper. Resistance gets weaker. Because you've removed the possibility of a different outcome. Of course, there will still be moments when you feel the pull to compromise. when comfort whispers, when fear speaks, when fatigue tries to convince you that just this once won't matter. Those are the defining moments. That's when you remember, my standards are not suggestions. They're the laws I live by. And with each time you hold the line, your mental control deepens. You stop thinking in terms of can I do this, and start thinking in terms of this is simply what I do. That shift changes everything. It's not just control, it's ownership. Once you've built this, something interesting happens. Your environment starts to shape itself around your standards. People begin to expect certain behaviors from you, not because you tell them, but because you consistently show them. Your habits reinforce themselves. Your discipline stops being a battle and becomes your baseline. And that's when you realize that control isn't fragile anymore. It's self-sustaining. Because your standards aren't temporary rules, they're permanent markers of who you are. When you reach this point, you're ready for the final piece, the habit that doesn't just protect your mental control, but renews it every single day, making it nearly impossible to lose. Control is not something you achieve once and then keep forever. It's something you renew, deliberately, day after day. And if you're not reinforcing it, you're quietly eroding it. Even if you can't see it yet. Think of a fortress. No matter how strong its walls, if no one inspects them, repairs them, and strengthens them, time will weaken them. Your mental control works the same way. Without daily reinforcement, small cracks form. A little more distraction here. A little more emotional reaction there. And before you know it, the habits you fought so hard to build have faded into memory. This is why the final habit is the most important one. Make reinforcement part of your daily life. Not when it's convenient. Not when you feel like it. Every day, without exception. What does reinforcement look like? It's the deliberate act of stepping back into the identity you've chosen for yourself and proving it through action. It could be as simple as reviewing your main priorities before the day begins. It could be running through a short list of the standards you refuse to break. It could be a ritual that signals to your mind, this is who I am, and I'm choosing it again today. It's not about length or complexity. It's about consistency. Your mind craves repetition. It learns from what you do most often. If every day you confirm that you are in control, your mind starts to accept it as fact. It stops testing you as much. It starts aligning automatically with the path you've set. One of the simplest, yet most effective ways to do this is to anchor the habit to something you already do every day. For me, it's the first moment I'm fully awake. Before my feet touch the floor, I decide, I am in control today. Then, I prove it with a small, intentional action, something immediate, so my mind has no time to wander. This simple ritual sets the tone for the rest of the day. Another key is reflection at the end of the day. Not in a self-critical way, but in a self-accountable way. Ask yourself, did I act like the person I've committed to being? Where did I hold the line? Where did I let it slip? The point is not perfection, it's awareness. Because awareness is the first step to tightening control again tomorrow. The more you practice this daily reinforcement, the less it feels like effort. It becomes identity maintenance. You don't have to hype yourself up to live by your standards. You simply keep them alive by touching them every day. And here's the power in this. Even on bad days, you'll still show up for reinforcement. Even on days when everything goes wrong, you'll still reclaim control before the day ends. That's how you avoid the slippery slope that pulls most people back to square one. This is also how you prevent complacency, the silent killer of mental control. The moment you start thinking, I've got this handled, I don't need to work on it anymore, you've already begun to lose it. Daily reinforcement keeps you humble, alert, and ready. It reminds you that control is a living skill, not a trophy you can put on a shelf. When you combine this with everything else we've covered, instant self-command, directing your thoughts, eliminating distractions, mastering emotional responses, building a mental system, and living by unshakable standards, you don't just control your mind. You own it, completely. And when you own your mind, everything else in life follows. Discipline becomes natural. Focus becomes automatic. Consistency stops being a struggle. You start moving through life with a kind of quiet power that others can feel, because your mind is no longer an unpredictable force. It's your most trusted ally. So here's the truth I want you to carry from this moment forward. The battle for your mind is never over. But when you fight it daily, on your terms, you always win. Every morning, claim your control. Every night, confirm it. And never, ever let a day pass without proving to yourself that you are still the one in command. Because if you keep doing that, you'll never wonder again who's making the decisions in your life. You'll know, and you'll trust yourself completely. This is where control stops being fragile and starts being permanent. This is where your mind stops running you and starts running with you. And this is just the beginning. What you've built here has the power to grow beyond what you can imagine. So keep going, keep choosing, keep reinforcing, because the next chapter of your growth is waiting and you're ready for it.